An 8th level cultivation star is extremely rare, with only 3 in the entire Alliance star domain. As for the most mysterious 9th level cultivation star, there is only 1 in the entire Alliance star domain. The cultivation families in the Luotion star domain are similar in this regard, but they emphasize the importance of lineage. Only those cultivation families that have existed for a long time and remain prosperous can achieve eternal existence in the Luotion star domain. In the Luotion star domain, the most common are the main star cultivation families from the 4 major regions East, South, West, and North. Their strengths are comparable, and usually, 3 or 4 families coexist on a single cultivation star. For example, the Tang family and Zhan family are at the pinnacle of this position. Above these cultivation families are the 4 great families that have passed down from the immortal realm. They represent the most powerful visible forces in the Luotion star domain. Tracing their origins, the ancestors of these 4 great families were all immortals from the Thunder Immortal realm before its collapse, and their status was far from ordinary. Similarly, above these 4 great families, there are 2 types of families that are low-key in their actions, yet are the true dominant forces in the Luotion star domain. More ancient than the families that trace their lineage to the immortal realm are those that existed in the ancient times and have continued to thrive even after the collapse of the immortal realm. These families have a legacy that stretches back to the ancient cultivation world. There are 6 such families in the Luotion star domain. One of them is the mysterious Xiang family from Donglin star, as well as Li Yuan's family. However, after such long periods of time, the cultivation families that have passed down since ancient times have mostly declined. The Li family is one such example, along with 3 other families that have also disappeared. Today, only 2 ancient cultivation families remain. Just as there is a 9th level cultivation nation in the Alliance star domain, in the Luotion star domain, there are older existences than the cultivation families passed down from ancient times, and they are the ancient ones. Ancient cultivation families are the true powerhouses in the Luotion star domain, shrouded in mystery. To have survived from the ancient era and continued to exist until now, the depth of their heritage is terrifying, enough to send chills down one's spine just by thinking about it. This means that this family has experienced the changes of the ancient era, the collapse of the immortal realm, the journey of the Thunder Immortal Palace, and the overall shifts in the Luotion star domain. It is very likely that this cultivation family, which traces its roots back to ancient times, even knows the secrets of the ancient immortal domain. Their divine arts alone are enough to reign supreme over Luotion. These matters, apart from the 8th and 9th level cultivation forces in the Alliance star domain, Wang Lin knew all too well. On his journey with Li Yuan had almost told him everything he knew about these families. Thus, when facing the 4 great families that trace their lineage to the immortal realm, Wang Lin remained calm. In the air above the fragmented earth, where the celestial treasure pavilion resides, the 2 elders who were jointly resisting the fragment seal remained silent for a moment. One of them smiled bitterly and said, "Fellow Taoist, with such divine abilities and magical treasures, you must be no ordinary person. May I ask your name?" Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he slowly replied, "Sumu." The elder's gaze sharpened, and he said, "Although fellow Taoist has not reached the glimpse of nirvana stage, with your strength, we cannot stop you. You are qualified to enter the celestial treasure pavilion." Just as he finished speaking, the other elder, looking at Wang Lin, suddenly asked, "Fellow Taoist Su, do you have any connections with the Su family from Donglin Star?" Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he turned his gaze toward the speaker. The elder hesitated for a moment, his eyes gleaming with light. He said, "If fellow Taoist is not from the Su family of Donglin Star, then I, representing the Qin family, would like to invite you to become an external elder of our family." Wang Lin's eyes flickered, and a smile appeared on his lips. "This matter is not impossible. However, my current goal is the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. I hope the 3 of you can assist me." Wang Lin's gaze swept over the disembodied primordial spirit in the air. The disembodied cultivator sighed silently, his expression complicated. Upon hearing Wang Lin's words, he was certain that Wang Lin knew everything about the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. The Celestial Treasure Pavilion can only be entered once it is opened, and the key to unlocking it requires at least 2 people from different families to perform their respective rituals simultaneously. After that, things were simple. With the 3 of them working together, they opened the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. The 4-cornered pavilion began to tremble slowly as the 4 corners came together. Suddenly, a soft light flickered, and at the point where the corners met, an elliptical light gate appeared. Fellow Daoist Su, members of my Qin family have entered the Celestial Treasure Pavilion hundreds of times. Although obtaining immortal arts inside depends on one's luck, and each person sees something different upon entry, it is not without clues. The longer you stay inside, the more precious the immortal arts you will acquire. I wish you great success, fellow Daoist Su. The elder who had previously invited Wang Lin to become an external elder of the Qin family now cupped his fists in a sincere gesture. Wang Lin nodded slightly. From the memories of the Yo family elder, he knew that none of the four great families had the strength to set up traps inside the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. Moreover, everything before him was just as it had been in the memory of the old man from the Yao family. There was no difference at all. Wang Lin no longer hesitated. He put away his magical artifact, swayed his body, and directly approached the glowing gate. Taking a deep breath, he stepped forward and entered. After Wang Lin entered, the old man who had lost his physical body sighed and said, "Had I known this person was so formidable, we wouldn't have acted earlier. We should have just let him enter. With his cultivation, like ours, he would have only reached the 4th layer at most. The 4th layer is indeed the limit, but who would have thought his magical powers and artifacts would be so overwhelming? His cultivation is on par with ours, but judging by his demeanor, he clearly has other cards to play. If he hadn't known that opening the Celestial Treasure Pavilion required our help, the battle just now would have resulted in more than one death." That's true. From his actions earlier, he clearly wanted to kill 2 people. If I hadn't reacted quickly, my primordial spirit might have collapsed like my physical body, the old man without a body said, smiling bitterly. Well, it's useless to discuss this now. Since he's gone in, let him go. As for the immortal arts in the 4th layer, it all depends on his immortal fate, the elder from the Qin family said slowly. Elder Qin, are you really planning to invite this person to become an external elder of the Qin family? The old man who had lost his body asked. The elder from the Qin family nodded solemnly. This person is very powerful. A person like him is just what my Qin family needs. Fellow Taoists, don't fight with me over him. If he really becomes an external elder of the Qin family, then the death of Taoist you will be something we'll all pretend we didn't know about. As for Taoist lose physical body, my Qin family will compensate with a new one. Fellow Taoist Song will also offer a small profit to you. Of course, all of this is contingent on him joining my Qin family. While the 3 of them were talking, Wang Lin had arrived at a strange space. The surroundings were shrouded in gray mist, and his divine sense could not extend. Faint whispers, indistinguishable and unclear, echoed from all directions, yet he could not make out the words. At that moment, the mist suddenly surged, moving at an incredible speed, like waves, gathering in front of Wang Lin. In the blink of an eye, it took the form of a person. The figure was made entirely of mist, its attire indistinct, but its face could be seen. It had a very ordinary appearance, yet there was an aura around it that was vastly different from that of a cultivator. After appearing, the figure calmly gazed at Wang Lin, raised its right hand with the palm facing outward, and remained motionless. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He recalled from the memory of the old man from the Yo family that within the Celestial Treasure Pavilion, though the opportunities for each person might differ, there was one common aspect when they first entered, the test of cultivation. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin took several steps forward, approaching the figure. He raised his right hand and placed it against the misty figure's palm. In an instant, a strange power surged from the figure's palm into Wang Lin's body, circulating rapidly before being withdrawn. A deep voice suddenly echoed around him. 8th rank Immortal. You may proceed to the 4th layer of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion and select immortal arts based on your immortal fate. Wang Lin retracted his right hand, his gaze flickering as he murmured, 8th rank Immortal. How is the immortal realm divided? My cultivation hasn't yet reached the peak of the Yang fulfillment stage. If I were to reach it, what rank Immortal would I become? At this moment, the misty figure began to slowly dissipate. Wang Lin knew that once it completely vanished, he would be transported to the 4th layer, where everything would depend on his immortal fate. However, even with great immortal fate, he could only obtain immortal arts in the 4th layer. It was clear that the Celestial Treasure Pavilion had countless layers, and the higher the layer, the more advanced the immortal arts would be. It was likely that on the highest layer, even the most ordinary immortal arts would become supreme in the lower layers. Yet, this test of cultivation couldn't be faked. Everything depended on one's own strength. It was a matter of opportunity. Only those with profound cultivation could obtain rare immortal arts. If one's cultivation was insufficient, there was no chance at all. Just as the misty figure was about to completely dissipate, a bold idea suddenly sprang into Wang Lin's mind. The moment the thought appeared, his heart began to race, and he felt dry in his mouth. After a brief hesitation, he gritted his teeth, tapped his storage pouch, and immediately conjured a treasure pagoda in his hand. His eyes flashed with strange light as he struck the pagoda with his left hand. Instantly, the white-clad female corpse appeared before Wang Lin. Taking several steps back, Wang Lin made hand seals, circulating his primordial energy, and manipulated the female corpse to raise its right hand, meeting the dissipating figure's palm. At that moment, Wang Lin's heart raced uncontrollably. He kept his gaze fixed, not daring to blink. In an instant, the misty figure actually began to show signs of collapse. Its entire body trembled slightly, and after a long while, the deep voice echoed once more. "Ninth rank Immortal Lord. You may proceed to the 9th layer of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion and search for immortal arts." Wang Lin's eyes shone with excitement as he clenched his fists tightly. Without hesitation, he put the female corpse back into the treasure pagoda and stored it in his pouch. His heart raced wildly, and even though he was usually calm, this was the first time he felt such intense emotions. Obtaining immortal arts by chance and searching for them in the pavilion, these two statements carry vastly different meanings. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his eyes showing determination as he stepped onto the staircase and began ascending, one step at a time. As he advanced, the staircase behind him slowly disappeared. At that moment, outside the Celestial Treasure Pavilion on the Fragment Continent, the three elders were conversing when suddenly, a flash of light appeared atop the pavilion. The light grew more intense, nearly blinding in its brilliance. The elder from the Chen clan, his gaze fixed on the light, spoke calmly. "Brother Su's immortal fate is about to begin. But I wonder what kind of immortal arts he will gain on the 4th layer." The disembodied Lu surname cultivator nodded upon hearing this and said, "Cultivation and immortal fate are indeed somewhat related. While not a major factor, they can play a role at critical moments. This person is likely to obtain superior immortal arts on the 4th layer." The last cultivator, from the Song clan, remained silent, his eyes locked on the light from the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. His eyes gleamed with a sharp focus, and he spoke in a low voice, "Something's wrong." The Qin and Lu elders were taken aback and immediately turned their attention to the pavilion, their expressions changing. There, after the first beam of light, 4 more appeared, lining up side by side and soaring into the sky. Circular ripples spread out across the sky, expanding outward. From the ground, this spectacle was magnificent. 5 beams of light? This person has entered the 5th layer. The disembodied Lu surname cultivator stared at the 5 beams in disbelief. "It seems we underestimated Brother Su. His cultivation must be at the peak of the Yang fulfillment stage. He's likely on the verge of stepping into the glimpse of Nirvana stage. He must have barely met the criteria for the 5th layer." The Song clan cultivator's eyes flickered subtly. The Chun clan cultivator furrowed his brows and said slowly, "If his cultivation reached the glimpse of Nirvana, he wouldn't be able to enter the Thunder Immortal realm, unless—" Before he could finish, a new burst of light appeared above the pavilion. This time, 2 beams shot up directly into the sky, joining the previous 5. 7 long rainbows arced through the air, a stunning sight. But to the 3 elders, it left them dumbstruck. Impossible. 7 beams of light? This is the 7th layer. It can't be. The Song clan elder stared up at the sky, muttering in disbelief, his eyes wide with terror. The disembodied Lu surname cultivator was similarly stunned, his primordial spirit frozen as he gazed at the 7 beams, his mind blank. As for the Qin clan cultivator, his shock was even more intense. He murmured, "What kind of cultivation is needed to enter the 7th layer? Su Mu's cultivation could never be this high. Could it be? Could he truly possess such unparalleled immortal fate that he can enter the 7th layer without even a test?" Before they could process their astonishment, 2 more beams of light shot out, bringing the total to 9. The 9 rainbows soared into the sky, and the 3 elders stood in stunned silence, as if struck by a series of thunderclaps. The 3 couldn't speak, only staring at the sky, frozen in disbelief. 5 rainbows, they could accept. Perhaps Su Mu's cultivation had been somewhat hidden. Entering the 5th layer was surprising, but still understandable. But when the 7 rainbows appeared, their shock turned to disbelief. There was no way Su Mu had hidden his cultivation to such an extent. And when the final 9 rainbows appeared, their minds were shaken to the core. There was no explanation other than overwhelming immortal fate. The shock of the 9 rainbows was too much for them to bear. After all, even the ancestors of their respective clans When the Thunder Immortal realm first opened and the seal was placed on the fragment continent, could only reach the 8th layer at best. No one had ever entered the 9th layer. As Wang Lin ascended, he reached the end of the staircase. Stepping forward, the space before him lit up, revealing a small attic. The attic wasn't large, but the walls were lined with more than a dozen wooden grids, each containing a piece of immortal jade, emitting a soft glow. On the wall directly in front, there was a painting depicting a tree, half of its leaves yellow and withered. Beneath the tree sat a young disciple, seemingly meditating cross-legged. In the top left corner of the painting, there were some handwritten words. Summon wind and rain, scatter beams to form soldiers, earth splits and mountains collapse, dark moon has clear skies. Gazing at the painting, Wang Lin fell silent for a moment. He couldn't discern its deeper meaning, but the phrase written on the painting intrigued him. Summon wind and rain, this must refer to 2 divine arts, and scatter beams to form soldiers is also a divine art. As for the latter part, earth splits and mountains collapse, similar to summon wind and rain. But what could dark moon has clear skies mean? Unable to grasp the meaning, Wang Lin shifted his gaze and began surveying the room. It was very simple, lacking even a table. The only feature was a stone meditation mat on the floor, deeply indented from years of use by someone meditating there. Wang Lin took a few steps forward and carefully examined the meditation mat. The object seemed quite ordinary, nothing particularly unusual, but when Wang Lin touched it, he was shocked to find that his hand actually passed through the mat. Wang Lin furrowed his brows and glanced around at the surrounding compartments. After a moment, his expression darkened. The joy he had felt earlier instantly faded away. Despite the presence of immortal jade in the compartments, they were just like the mat, illusory, completely non-existent. Upon further observation, Wang Lin couldn't help but smile bitterly. He realized that everything here, the objects, the surroundings, could only be seen, but never touched. It was as if he were trapped in an illusion. If I had known, it would have been better to go to the 4th level. Surely, it wouldn't have been like this place. Wang Lin muttered, his brow still furrowed as his gaze finally fell upon a painting in front of him. After a moment of contemplation, Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he sat cross-legged on the ground, staring intently at the painting in front of him, falling into complete silence. The 9th layer, where an immortal lord can enter, is certainly no simple place. Perhaps this illusory scene seems this way to me, but to an immortal lord, it would be as easy as raising a hand to take it. But then, why would there be such a painting here? That's a bit strange. Wang Lin stared at the painting, scrutinizing it closely. Time passed slowly, and Wang Lin's mood began to calm. He was unwilling to leave the 9th layer empty-handed. After some analysis, he realized that the painting could very well be the key. He decided to clear his mind and focus entirely on the painting, hoping to uncover some clue within it. Gradually, Wang Lin's expression became serene as he continued to focus, almost without blinking. He immersed his entire being in the painting, silently contemplating. As time went by, Wang Lin slowly closed his eyes. Even though his eyes were closed, the painting still appeared vividly in his mind. It was as if he could feel himself entering the scene within the painting. After a long time, he opened his eyes and murmured, "Something's wrong. There's always a barrier that prevents me from truly entering the painting." After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly sharpened, and he fixed his gaze on the young disciple under the tree in the painting. He clearly remembered this disciple from before, sitting cross-legged in meditation, with no markings on his hands. But now, in the painting, the disciple's hands were making hand seals. This discovery made Wang Lin's spirits rise. He began to observe closely. Days passed, and after 7 days of focused observation, Wang Lin noticed that the hand seals of the disciple changed every 2 or 3 hours. However, the changes were so subtle that, without paying close attention, it would be nearly impossible to detect them. During these 7 days, Wang Lin committed all of the disciple's hand seals to memory. On the 8th day, he sat cross-legged on the ground, forming hand seals with his hands. Instantly, as he performed the hand seals, the entire loft trembled. Wang Lin paused in surprise, then looked around carefully. After a moment's hesitation, he resumed performing the hand seals. The hand seals caused the loft to tremble once more, as if it were shrinking. This discovery astonished Wang Lin. He hastened the speed of his hand seals, but after several tremors, the loft stopped shaking. Unable to understand what was happening, Wang Lin's gaze shifted back to the painting. His hand seals grew faster, and he began to feel as though his physical body were dissolving, his entire spirit moving toward the painting. The moment the last hand seal was made, Wang Lin felt a loud explosion in his head. His body swayed, and he collapsed to the ground. His primordial spirit was shaken, and his vision blurred. When his vision cleared, Wang Lin was immediately stunned, staring around in disbelief. He was in a void. Behind him stood a large tree, half of its leaves withered. A gentle breeze blew, causing the leaves to rustle. Looking down, Wang Lin realized he was wearing a Taoist robe. He had entered the painting and had become the disciple depicted within it. The scene was so bizarre that Wang Lin stood up and looked at the sky. In the upper right of the sky, he saw several black ink smudges. Those ink smudges were the very same words he had seen outside the painting. Summon wind and rain, scatter beams to form soldiers, earth splits and mountains collapse, Moon has clear skies. As Wang Lin stared at the words, they began to shift, forming drops of ink that fell like raindrops, landing all around him. Instantly, the void around him dissipated, replaced by the sounds of bustling activity. Out of the void, shadowy figures began to materialize. These figures were indistinct, but as each appeared, they immediately sat down in meditation. Before long, the area around Wang Lin was filled with dense figures, nearly all around him. Whispers of conversation filled the air, but curiously, Wang Lin could hear them, yet he couldn't make out any of the words. After a moment, all the noise suddenly ceased. From the void, a figure emerged. This figure was also blurry, but the moment they appeared, a wave of oppressive pressure radiated outward, enveloping the area. The man floated in midair, sitting cross-legged, with what seemed like a smile on his face. His voice clearly resonated. Today, the Immortal Lord will paint for the first time in the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. With the brush being blessed by the Immortal Emperor, I've been invited to observe. I've also taken the opportunity to invite several fellow immortals to gather and listen to my teachings while the painting is in progress. My Tao, this is it. As he spoke, he raised his right hand. Immediately, a powerful wind howled, dark as night, spreading across the sky. In its wake, 9 black dragons formed, their roars shaking the heavens and earth. The sheer force of their presence caused the world to tremble. As the black wind raged, the 9 dragons opened their mouths, releasing a gust of cold, sinister wind. The terrifying power of the wind made it feel as though a candle's flame could be extinguished by a mere breath, life snuffed out instantly. It was as if all the creatures in the world could be torn apart by this wind, and the strange force contained within it surpassed Wang Lin's imagination. This is the wind summoning. The great Tao is simple, summon the wind, and thus is it done. It can extinguish the fire of all living beings. Wang Lin's heart shook violently, and an unimaginable pain coursed through him, as though his very being was being torn apart. His primordial soul immediately shattered into pieces. At that moment, a gentle force emerged from the void. With a wave, it gathered his broken primordial soul. A clear voice laughed and said, "The technique of the Immortal Emperor is extraordinary. This wind summoning, let this be the theme for the painting, inscribed on the work of the immortal artist, and placed in the 9th layer of the Celestial Treasure Pavilion. In the future, those with immortal fate will naturally be able to enter the painting and gain insights. Whether they can understand the technique will depend on their immortal fate." As the voice faded, Wang Lin's shattered primordial soul was pulled up, as if it were ink, and a stroke of a brush formed 2 words. Wind summoning. With that, a surge of immense power erupted from the words. Wang Lin's primordial soul reassembled and was thrust back. His vision blurred, and in an instant, he found himself back in his physical body on the ground in the room. Wang Lin's body trembled as he opened his eyes. Fear and astonishment filled them. The echoes of the painting still lingered in his ears. So, this is immortal fate. Wang Lin took a deep breath, staring blankly at the painting on the wall. Everything that had just happened felt incredibly real. Immortal Emperor. Immortal Lord, and that immortal artist who painted. Wang Lin stared at the painting, now realizing that the painting style was unmistakably the same as the one he had seen in his storage space. He stood silently for a long time, then got up, not even glancing at the immortal jade in the storage compartments. He turned and left. Compared to the immortal arts he had just gained, everything in the 9th layer suddenly seemed dull and lifeless. As he stepped out of the 9th layer, a staircase appeared before him. Slowly, he descended, still lost in the illusion of the scenes from the painting. Immortal arts. Wind summoning. Wang Lin muttered to himself as he reached the bottom of the stairs. With a single step, he disappeared without a trace. On the fragment continent, where the Celestial Treasure Pavilion was located, Qin, Lu, and Song had recovered from their shock after these past days. but deep down, they still couldn't quite believe everything that had happened. Within them, without exception, jealousy had begun to take root. The thought grew stronger, eventually replacing their rationality. After all, they had no idea what kind of immortal arts resided in the 9th layer, but the more mysterious it seemed, the more intense their desire for it became. At this moment, the light gates of the celestial treasure pavilion flickered, and Wang Lin's figure walked out, looking confused. He passed by the three of them, step by step, walking toward the distance. The three immediately noticed that something was off with Wang Lin's current state. They exchanged glances and saw coldness and determination in each other's eyes. Apologies, fellow Taoist Su. After recommending you to join the family, Chen still desires the immortal arts from the 9th layer. Especially now that you are in this state, if you were still clear-headed, I might hesitate, but with you in this dazed state, it's an opportunity given to me by the heavens. The Chen elder's eyes revealed murderous intent. The three did not hesitate anymore. They charged forward, each pulling out their most powerful magical treasures, performing their strongest divine arts, and heading straight for Wang Lin. The song cultivator's hands glowed with the yin-yang diagram. As he threw it, lightning surged within the diagram, crackling loudly. A strong surge of heaven and earth energy filled the diagram, causing it to flash towards Wang Lin like a lightning bolt. Behind him, the right hand of the Lu cultivator formed an eerie seal, causing a long, ghostly strand of hair to materialize. As it emerged, a tremendous pressure followed, releasing a large cloud of green mist. Finally, there was the Lu cultivator who had lost his physical form. He opened his mouth and spat out a shimmering small fan, which he immediately began to wave. As he did, he released his primordial spirit essence, and violet flames spread across the surroundings, morphing into 6 fire dragons that roared and scattered, trying to surround Wang Lin and prevent his escape. The three of them were already red-eyed, each holding on to the thought that they must kill Wang Lin and obtain the 9th layer immortal arts. Their speed was extremely fast, with various divine arts and magical treasures quickly closing in on Wang Lin. In almost an instant, they were already right upon him. At this moment, Wang Lin's eyes were still somewhat unfocused, his mind lingering on the incredible transformations of the immortal art that summoned wind. As the three's divine arts and magical treasures approached, he instinctively turned his back to them, raising his right hand and muttering, "Summon wind." As the words left his mouth, a black wind immediately erupted from his right hand. This wind grew rapidly, howling as it spread out. In that instant, the sky darkened, as though even the heavens were retreating from this black wind. The entire earth suddenly trembled, a thick aura spreading across the world. All of this was caused by the black wind, by this immortal art. It seemed as though the earth itself had a memory of this art, as if the sky had once fallen under its power. In that moment, the long-lost immortal emperor's technique appeared once more. The moment this wind appeared, without pause, it rushed straight toward the three behind Wang Lin. The silver needle artifact of the cultivator with the Qin surname shattered upon contact with the wind, not even putting up a resistance. As for the illusionary figure that emerged from his body, the moment a finger pointed at it, the black wind blew it out like a candle's flame. The figure froze and instantly disintegrated. This is the 9th layer's immortal art. The Qin cultivator's eyes filled with fear, his scalp tingling. To him, the black wind seemed like a life-taking chill, shaking his mind and evoking a sense of helplessness, as if facing heavenly might itself. Without hesitation, he turned and fled, instantly using spatial shift to escape. However, even as he shifted, the moment the black wind blew, his body trembled. As he emerged from the shift, his eyes dimmed, and his body collapsed with a loud crash. His primordial spirit, like a flame, was extinguished by the black wind. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Even the magical treasure of the cultivator with the song surname fared no better. The yin-yang diagram instantly shattered, and his body collapsed in the wake of the black wind. With a terrified look in his eyes, he abandoned his physical form, and his primordial spirit fled for its life. As for the cultivator with the Lu surname, who had already lost his physical form, his fan was torn apart by the black wind as well. As a primordial spirit body, his soul was in chaos, and he quickly retreated in fear. At this moment, the black wind suddenly vanished, as if it had never appeared. Wang Lin's eyes no longer seemed hazy. Instead, they were clear. So this is the immortal art that summons wind. He took a deep breath, his face extremely pale. Turning, he took a step forward, tapping his storage pouch, and immediately the soul banner appeared. With a shake, it turned into a black mist and chased after the Lu cultivator's primordial spirit. As for Wang Lin, his eyes flashed coldly. He spat out a grain of sand, which transformed into a grand seal, immediately chasing after the song cultivator's primordial spirit. In the blink of an eye, the grand seal closed in and slammed into the earth. The song cultivator screamed, and his primordial spirit released a large amount of essence energy, weakening instantly. His eyes filled with terror. Just as he was about to flee, the Karma Kunji whip appeared, wrapping around his primordial spirit and pulling him back into Wang Lin's grasp. Fellow Taoist Su, show mercy. I know my wrongs. The song cultivator pleaded, but Wang Lin ignored him. His eyes flickered with cold light. With a squeeze, the song cultivator's primordial spirit immediately shattered, turning into primordial energy, which Wang Lin swallowed. The massive primordial energy surged through his body. Wang Lin's complexion no longer looked as pale as before. He exhaled deeply, swaying slightly before catching up to the Lu cultivator's primordial spirit, which was trapped by the soul banner. With a grasp, the Kunji whip flew out, whipping several times within the black mist created by the soul banner. Finally, with a shake, the soul banner absorbed the Lu cultivator's primordial spirit. Wang Lin's eyes flashed coldly as he reached into the soul banner, pulling out the Lu cultivator's primordial spirit. If you kill me, the Lu family will never rest until they take revenge on you. The Lu cultivator screamed, but his voice suddenly cut off as Wang Lin crushed his primordial spirit, turning it into primordial energy, which he swallowed. Wang Lin's complexion grew slightly more ruddy, but still carried a hint of pallor. Without hesitation, he reached once more into the soul banner, pulling out the primordial spirit of the first person he had killed, the black-clad man. Crushing it into primordial energy, Wang Lin swallowed it once more. Having consumed 3 primordial spirits, Wang Lin immediately sat down cross-legged and began to regulate his breath. After a long while, his complexion gradually returned to normal, though there was still a trace of pallor. Wang Lin opened his eyes and exhaled a breath. The breath he exhaled was black, a truly shocking sight. Such a powerful immortal art. I barely grasped a bit of its essence, and yet when I tried to use it, I couldn't control it. This art consumes so much primordial energy that it almost absorbed all the energy within my body, including the primordial energy wrapped in the extreme realm. If I hadn't replenished it quickly, the consequences would have been unimaginable. But this technique doesn't seem like an immortal art. If anything, it could be called demonic arts. Moreover, the amount of primordial energy this technique requires is enormous. To use it, one would need to constantly have several primordial spirits of Yin deficiency and Yang fulfillment cultivators at the ready. Wang Lin stood up, took the storage pouches of the people he had killed, and turned to glance at the celestial treasure pavilion. He muttered to himself, such a pity this pavilion can't be taken. Otherwise, with the strength of the 4 great families, they would have already extracted the immortal realm. But leaving this treasure here, I can't bear it. If only I could take it away. While pondering, Wang Lin's gaze suddenly flashed. He remembered the words he had heard when he saw that painting. Xiaozi has opened the celestial treasure pavilion for the first time with his painting. Wang Lin's eyes brightened, and he recalled the handprint of the young disciple under the tree in the painting. When I used this handprint earlier, I felt the building tremble. Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat. His body swayed, and in an instant, he appeared outside the celestial treasure pavilion. He took a deep breath, formed a hand seal, and unleashed the handprint he had learned from the young disciple. Immediately, the rectangular celestial treasure pavilion emitted waves of light. Through Wang Lin's gaze, the pavilion grew smaller and smaller, until it was no larger than the palm of his hand. The moment Wang Lin completed the hand seal, it flew into his palm. Staring at the celestial treasure pavilion in his palm, Wang Lin couldn't help but laugh out loud. His laughter was filled with pure joy. This process lasted for nearly 10 days. Finally, at the edge of the fragment continent, where he had entered earlier, Wang Lin searched forward. The formation here was only designed to prevent entry from the outside, but leaving was not a problem. Half a month later, in the void, Wang Lin and Li Yuan became 2 rainbow streaks, speeding away. Li Yuan's left hand was aching, and a great deal of his primordial energy had dissipated. Looking at Wang Lin beside him, he smiled wryly and said, "Brother Su, at the edge of that fragment continent, I set up no fewer than 10,000 restrictions. The combined power of these restrictions is immense. Unless someone from the 4 great clans comes, it's nearly impossible to break through them completely." After Wang Lin emerged half a month ago, Li Yuan appeared immediately. At Wang Lin's request, Li Yuan did not use the family's destruction prohibition but instead sealed the continent where the celestial treasure pavilion was located using other methods. Brotherly, my business here in the Thunder Immortal realm is done. It's best we leave quickly, Wang Lin said, patting his storage pouch and taking out a thunder cauldron, something he had acquired from killing many people. The pouch also contained the thunder cauldron. Brother Su, aren't you going to check out the fragment continent where the fluctuations of immortal power occurred? Li Yuan clearly didn't want to leave just yet and asked. Wang Lin shook his head, his gaze shifting to the void. He said solemnly, not going. The memory of the colorful whirlpool in the passage flashed in his mind, and an uneasy feeling rose in his heart. Moreover, the excitement from acquiring the celestial treasure pavilion still hadn't fully dissipated. With such a treasure in his hands, his first thought was to leave as soon as possible. After all, the pavilion was of immense importance to the four great clans, both in terms of face and practical value. If they found out, they would likely launch a large-scale pursuit of Wang Lin immediately. However, the fragment continent was sealed before. The likelihood of the outside world knowing about the changes here is not very high. He had not told Li Yuan about obtaining the celestial treasure pavilion. After all, it was a matter of great importance. Wang Lin was cautious, and unless he was absolutely sure, he would never disclose such information. Li Yuan pondered for a moment, then nodded. All right, leaving it is. To depart from the Thunder Immortal realm, one must be at a specific location. The only place to open the Thunder Cauldron and return is at the Immortal Realm Gate. Wang Lin nodded slightly. He had heard about this from Xin Gonghu long ago. The two made up their minds and sped away in the void. The Immortal Realm Gate in the Thunder Immortal Realm was far to the west of where Wang Lin was. There was still a long journey ahead. As they flew, an astonishing change occurred in the Thunder Immortal Realm. On the many fragment continents in the Thunder Immortal Realm, the four continents with strong fluctuations of immortal power had now gathered large numbers of cultivators. Almost all the cultivators who had come to the Thunder Immortal Realm had quickly learned about the fluctuations and rushed to the locations. Under the immortal energy fluctuations, four ancient formations appeared on the four fragment continents, one in each of the four directions, east, west, south, and north. At the western fragment, Xin Gonghu calmly observed a vast plain ahead. On that plain, there was an ancient formation spreading over 1,000 feet, with intense immortal energy emanating from it, dispersing into the sky. Surrounding the formation, many cultivators had gathered. They were often in small groups, focusing on the formation, with some restriction masters attempting to break it. Xin Gonghu furrowed his brow. He clearly remembered that he had been here months ago, and at that time, there were no formations at all. Why had such a vast formation appeared in just a few months? As he pondered, an inexplicable sense of danger rose in his heart. At this moment, a long rainbow streaked across the distant sky, accompanied by the howling of the wind. Over a dozen beams of sword light, like lightning, raced towards the area, landing around it and transforming into various cultivators. At the front was Zhang Konglai. With a single glance, he spotted Xin Gonghu, who was standing alone. Stepping forward, he swiftly approached Xin Gonghu and cupped his fists, smiling as he said, "Brother Xin, you're early." Xin Gonghu furrowed his brow slightly and replied indifferently, "It's you who came late." Zhang Konglai smiled lightly, standing beside Xin Gonghu, his gaze falling on the distant formation. He spoke, "Brother Xin, do you know who I encountered on my way here?" "No," Xin Gonghu answered flatly, showing no interest in the matter. His eyes, however, remained fixed on the plains, deep in thought. Zhang Konglai, having long understood Xin Gonghu's nature, continued, "It was an elder." At these words, Xin Gonghu's eyes flickered, and he turned to face Zhang Konglai, his voice lowered. "Is that true?" Zhang Konglai grinned. "Absolutely true. The elder mentioned that if they had the time, they would come here." A flash of joy appeared in Xin Gonghu's eyes. He looked at Zhang Konglai with a more favorable gaze, smiling as he said, "With the master's temperament, they would indeed take an interest in the strange phenomena here." Zhang Konglai looked toward the plains and nodded. "I'm sure Brother Xin has noticed as well. The formation here is extraordinarily strange." Before he could finish his sentence, the formation in the distance suddenly flared with blinding light. The waves of the formation spread out in an instant, and cries of shock echoed from the cultivators surrounding it. Several experts familiar with restriction formation swiftly flew out, casting their seals and accelerating the process of unraveling it. Outside the formation, many high-level experts had gathered, most of them from various families. They were spread out and did not interact with each other. Their cooperation in dismantling the formation was seamless, with no sign of internal conflict. As the fragments of the formation continued to be broken, the northern fragment was the first to have its restriction lifted. A winding passageway appeared before the cultivators of the northern fragment. The first to notice it immediately rushed in, followed by others. The passage was long, and after several hours of walking, the first cultivator to enter let out a blood-curdling scream that echoed throughout the passage. At that moment, a red light appeared within the tunnel. It swept across, causing the entire passage to collapse and vanish. This eerie scene immediately shocked the cultivators within the tunnel, who hurried to escape. However, under the red light, they perished one by one, with only a few surviving the catastrophe. Meanwhile, the restriction on the eastern fragment was also broken. As many cultivators entered the passage there, the same terrifying event occurred. When the first cultivator reached the end of the passage and saw a colorful vortex, he exploded in a strange manner, turning the entire tunnel red. This series of strange events was not yet over. On the southern fragment, tragedy struck once again. For a time, the Thunder Immortal realm was engulfed in a bloody storm. Just then, on the western fragment where Xun'er and Zhang stood, the formation began to pulse with intense waves of energy. As the fluctuations grew stronger, the cultivators who had been unraveling the restrictions began to take action. After a brief moment, the waves exploded outward, pushing the surrounding air with tremendous force. The formation was finally broken. A dark hole appeared in the ground, and rich immortal power poured out, forming a pillar of light that shot straight into the sky. Immediately, some cultivators could not contain themselves and rushed out, disregarding the searing immortal power as they dove into the hole. As one led the way, others followed suit. Neither Xun'er nor Zhang moved. They exchanged a look, both of them sensing the deep suspicion in each other's eyes. This formation was too easy to break. Xun'er muttered. Apart from the two of them, a few other cultivators remained cautious, their cultivation levels having reached the peak of the Yin deficiency realm, well beyond the full completion of the ascension. After a long time, as more and more cultivators entered the tunnel, a muffled sound suddenly echoed through the air. Then, screams rang out one after another. The earth shook violently, and in an instant, the passage collapsed, along with all the cultivators inside, vanishing into nothingness. Xun'er and the others' faces changed drastically as they flew up, their eyes filled with shock. At this moment, the formations and restrictions on the four major fragments, east, west, north, and south, were all broken. The passages collapsed one by one, and an unimaginable surge of immortal power suddenly erupted from the Thunder Immortal realm, spreading out. Simultaneously, 9 fragments within the Thunder Immortal realm began to tremble violently. 9 different formation marks appeared on the land, deeply etched into the earth, radiating a brilliant red light. This sudden, intense change left the cultivators within the Thunder Immortal realm confused and gripped with a terror that seemed to emanate from their very souls. On one of the fragments marked with the seal, it collapsed, not due to external forces exceeding the glimpse of Nirvana stage, but from within, as a powerful aura far beyond the glimpse of Nirvana stage erupted. Under the impact of this oppressive aura, the fragment continent crumbled layer by layer, collapsing one piece after another. A terrifying energy surged out from the center of the shattered land. Nearby fleeing cultivators, upon noticing the aura, were immediately struck with horror as they realized what had emerged: a severed arm. This severed arm had clearly been sealed here countless years ago. Now, with the unsealing of the 9 great seals, it regained its freedom. It shot out and, with a sweep of its energy, flew directly toward the center of the Thunder Immortal realm. The moment the severed arm appeared, the remaining 8 parts of the fragment continent began to collapse one after another. In the end, 2 severed arms, 2 mutilated legs, a head with only a left eye, and a torso divided into 3 parts all shot out, converging toward the center of the Thunder Immortal realm. Especially the head, which bore a sinister grin. As it flew out, it devoured every cultivator it encountered, instantly causing their bodies to collapse while their primordial spirits were consumed, making the left eye of the head glow brighter with each soul it consumed. Their speed was incredibly fast, far surpassing that of the cultivators, almost as if they were teleporting, leaving behind only afterimages in the void. Wang Lin and Li Yuan transformed into rainbow streaks, flying straight toward the far west through the void. As they flew, a chilling aura instantly spread, thick and suffocating, like an invisible mist pushing outward from the distance. Li Yuan's expression shifted slightly. Just as he was about to release his divine sense to investigate, A crimson glow suddenly appeared in the distance. The red light was intense and violently charged toward them. Li Yuan gasped. He clearly saw that within the crimson light, there was a severed arm.